What a night, what a morning. There's been no end to the drama and action. From barnyard rucks to diving ducks. And it's only Tuesday.
And I'm in the heart of mining country where this giant machine is providing a home for some surprising creatures.
And I can barely contain my excitement tonight as finally we have a riot of raptors.
Yes, I'll be tracking down some of Sherborne's awesome avian predators and introducing a rarely seen owl.
It's unpredictable, it's exciting, it's Springwatch.
Mick, what's that large yellow thing up there bathing us in golden evening light?
It's a reflection of my yellow jacket.
I think it might actually be the sun, and it's the first time we've seen it this week. Hello and welcome to Springwatch 2018. It is our second week coming to you from the wonderful National Trust Sherborne Park Estate here in Gloucestershire. Now, we've had a really good week. Lots of you have been tweeting in. In fact, quite a lot of tweets saying, any chance of more tree slugs? Well, sadly not. We've got to leave those behind us now, but we've had a rip-roaring week already. We had high drama yesterday, and I can promise you more high drama today as well.
I'm exhausted from watching the live cameras. I tell you, I'm traumatised and exhausted. So much has been going on, and it all happened during our show live yesterday when one of our blackbird chicks fledged, but I'm afraid it wasn't destined to live long in the big wide world, because no sooner had it spread its wings than it was predated by our little owl that we've also got a camera on in the same barn. This is what happened. This is what we saw in the day, plenty of wing flapping from the blackbird chicks, and then one crazy one decided to fledge in the early evening, which is not a sensible time to go, because that's the time that the little owls become active. You can see this female's got her beady eyes on that chick. The blackbird parents did a sterling job at trying to distract her and take her eyes away from their chick. But she spotted something on the floor. You can hear those parents, they're still kicking off, they're still trying to get her away. But if you look, she's got something under her wing. And then when she took it up to her nest to her own hungry chicks, that's when it was confirmed that she had caught the blackbird chick. Great for the little owl, obviously not great for the blackbirds.
Well, that was one of those blackbird chicks. There were 3 more in the nest ready to fledge, of course. Let's go live to that nest now. What's in the nest? Well, nothing is in the nest, which means the other 3 have left. Of course, we've been... what's that there? That's a little... Is that a tail?
That is
it
little,
is.
yeah.
That's the tail of one of the fledged birds. Well, we've been watching them very closely all day, of course. Let's see what they have been up to in the barn. They've been quite well advanced. So these were the 3 here at 7:30 this morning, and it was at 7:30 that the first one leapt out. Thankfully, it made it onto the rafters. The owls had pretty much given up hunting by now. The second one at 8:28 again made it onto the rafters. It was being fed by the parents quite diligently, of course. The last one then had lots of space to itself, so it enjoys a bit of wing flapping. The adults have been coming in, and whenever the owl has poked its face out of its little nesting hole at the base of that beam there, the blackbirds have gone berserk. Lots of alarm calling. And there on the other side, the left-hand side, you can see one of the fledglings in the back of the barn, clearly within sight of the owl, which has come out for a bit of a breather away from its chicks, but they chase it back in. Of course, it's got a rear exit, so it outsmarts the blackbirds easily there, comes out for a bit of a breather, trying to find some peace and quiet. Doesn't last long, though. And then it's harried away. Again, the blackbirds continue this all throughout the day. The chicks are flying quite well, jumping, flapping quite well. So at one point, one of them rejoined the remaining bird in the nest, but didn't stay long. It went back out. The owl has been active again but not really hunting. This is just a bird, this is the female bird taking a breather from brooding those chicks. But of course, it's all about what happens this evening now, because as the sun is setting, the owls will be thinking about hunting. Wherever the male has been all day, he'll be turning up. And one of the chicks we've just heard has gone down onto the floor. Don't know if we can see that live. It's the female blackbird, actually. Well, mind you, she's down there. So we're pretty much back in the same place as we were last night, Michaela. Except that rather than having one out of the nest, we've now got all three of them out, and the owls are about to start hunting. I'm so pleased I'm not a baby blackbird in that barn. I don't fancy their chances.
But do you think there's any chance that the little owls could be so full, because that's it was a big chick for those little owl chicks, that they won't bother with the other chicks and they'll be able to go?
How can I put this frankly? No. No.
Trying to
I mean,
be
look, if you've got a
positive.
blackbird burger on your doorstep, you're going to pick it up and put it in the fridge and save it for
Yeah.
later. And that we have seen these little owls caching food. That's what they're going to do.
Oh, fingers crossed for those last little chicks, those 3 remaining blackbird chicks. I'd say there's been lots of other action and drama going on. You may remember yesterday we introduced you to such a gorgeous nest of yellow hammers. Yolo introduced it to you. It's quite a vulnerable nest because it's in a field. Gorgeous lemony yellow birds. Let's have a look at that nest live now. And you can see that it's empty. So what happened?
Well, they certainly didn't fledge, although the yellow hammers will fledge quite early. This is what we saw within an hour ago. A weasel has found the chicks. Remember, it is on the ground. It's easily accessible to this stealthy and sharp little mammal. So it's taken one out there. There's one more chick left in the nest, so it takes the first one away. And then if you wait, it dodges around. You can see it moving at the side there, and it comes round to the front. On the back of the head now, Kelly, because it's got a tick.
I wasn't even looking at the tick. I was looking at what is going on in that
I
nest.
know, I just noticed that little tick there. So you've got the weasel feeding on the chicks, and the tick feeding on the weasel. It's a cycle of life. Cycle of life. And there it takes the second chick away. There were 3. It took one before we were able to roll our cameras. And of course we were worried about that nest because it's, as you said, so close to the whitethroats, which had already been predated by a weasel. We could now go back and look to see if it was the same weasel, and we'd be able to tell if it had a tick on the back of its head.
I mean, it is a shame, isn't it? Because it was such a gorgeous nest, such a gorgeous bird, and we were hoping to follow it for a few days, and we followed it for, what, 24 hours?
I know. Should we put the bad news behind us, though,
Yeah,
and go for some really good news? Last night, I did something out of character. My father's given me lots of potentially good advice over the years. The one thing he said is, boy, never gamble. But last night, I bet £100 of the Queen Sterling currency that the mandarins would fledge today. Well, Dad, it wasn't a gamble. I was confident. Let's go live to the nest now. Look, you see, they're gone. I was never going to lose by £100, ever.
Yeah, but let's be honest. You said they'd go at 8:30. I said 6:30, and I think Yolo said 7:30. So let's take a look and see who won that particular little bet. Here they are, 14 chicks in that adorable nest. I absolutely love this nest, but they're completely ready to go. They're very active. They're almost saying, come on, Mum, we want to jump. So 7:38, she decides that maybe it is time to take these chicks into the big wide world, and she jumps up to the exit hole, has a look, makes sure there's no danger around, and then the chicks soon follow. And look at this, that's the first little one peeking out, ready to make a leap of faith into that big wide world, and it jumps down, and this is what they do. Oh, that one's having a little piggyback. Then you've got a few more poking their heads out. And just watch this, because it's so sweet. I mean, they tumble down to the ground. It's 3.5 metres high. Look, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 3 more poking their heads out. Probably seems like quite a long way down, but they're robust little things. And although it looks quite tough when they hit the ground like that, they quickly get up and scurry off. It left one in the nest, struggling to get up to that exit hole, but eventually it did. Had a good look out. Hopefully their siblings are still around. It's not been left behind. And watch this. Whee! Look at those little wings flapping. Not a great drop to the ground, but you can see that it's perfectly all right. And all of those 14 successfully fledged chicks will follow their mum into the water. So I think that's gorgeous. I mean, we've gone from devastation to a bit of gorgeousness.
Should we continue our fledge-a-thon?
It has been a fledge-a-thon,
We've had a
hasn't it?
fledge-a-thon today. Our marsh tits finally went. The adults have been trying to coax them out over the last couple of days. You can see one of the adults on the left there with a nice juicy caterpillar. They've been flying down to the entrance to the hole, which is quite low to the ground, trying to tease the youngsters out. On this occasion, the adult jumps down, the youngster backs down the hole, adult gives in, gives it the ice cream. Oh, we've all been there, we've all been there. Then the youngster finally, at 10:58, thinks, I've got to get out of here. And the first one leaves. Remember, there were 6 crammed into this tiny little cavity. And when they get out, you can see there, they're quite mature for a fledgling tit. They're a lot more adult looking, if you like, than say blue tits when they first fledge. If you look at the edges of their beak, there's none of that yellow there. And look at this one, it actually flies up. It doesn't fly down or across. Look, they seem, well, quite accomplished for fledging passerine birds, don't they?
They
And when you
almost
see
look
them
like
up
the
there in
adult.
Yeah, they do. And well, and there's a reason for this, of course, and that is that blue tits fledge after about 14 days, and these young marsh tits have been in the nest now for about 21 days, a full 7 days longer, 7 days more feeding. All of those feathers are down. Obviously, therefore, they're more capable of flight. Hasn't just been our marsh tits, though. Our willow warblers have fledged today as well. They started quite early in the day. That was the first one that left there. Went out, had a look. That's the adult coming back in. Now remember that we had 7 birds in this nest on the ground, and so they don't need to have the same degree of flying skills as the marsh tits. They're going to hop around on the ground in this low foliage. So this is actually the 6th one that's come out, and then finally we've got this one in here. This is the last of our little willow warblers. Charming little birds. Now they would have scattered into the vegetation, not over too large an area. I imagine they're all within about 10 square metres. Whenever the adults come back now, they'll call, the young will reply, and they'll know how to find them and feed them. And of course this does mean that although they're not capable of fending for themselves or even flying properly, it's not a case of all eggs in one basket, like the yellowhammer. Whilst those yellowhammers were all in that nest, as soon as the weasel found it, it was going to lose the lot of them. The weasel now finds one of those willow warblers' chicks. There's a good chance that the other 6 might make it. And some breaking news. Our researchers have checked to see if it was the same weasel wearing that tick, and indeed it was. The weasel that took the yellowhammers was the weasel that took the whitethroats.
I told you it had been exhausting, and if you've been watching those live cameras on the web, then you've probably been glued all day. It's been a major fledge-a-thon. Right, on to a topic that's been in the news a lot recently. It's plastic and plastic pollution, and we've got to keep talking about it because it's not going to go away. There is so much plastic about, and I think we all know now that it not only affects us, but it affects our wildlife too. And the irony is, I mean, just listen to this irony. Plastic, when it was first invented, wasn't just for our benefit, but it was invented for the benefit of wildlife too. I know that sounds ridiculous, but when the first plastic was invented, that then sort of became the plastic that we know in 1869, it was hailed as the saviour of elephants and tortoises. That sounds crazy, but it was used as an alternative to billiard balls that were made out of ivory and tortoiseshell hair clips. And this is what the advert says. I'm going to read this to you. It says, plastics could protect the natural world from the destructive forces of human need. I mean, how wrong could that advert have been? And it's incredible to think that in just over a decade of overuse and misuse of plastic, it's had a devastating effect on wildlife and the environment. And the amazing series Blue Planet 2 certainly made a lot of us aware of that, not just the general public, the government as well. Now, of course, we on Springwatch have always been passionate about the subject, but for a lot of us, it seems like an insurmountable problem. But there are a lot of people in the UK that are doing their bit. And let me tell you, it is making a difference.
I've come to Bristol to see how residents are tackling the pollution in their waterways. My whistle-stop tour starts on the eastern fringe of Bristol in Eastville Park, where the River Frome enters the city.
It really is a stunning park, but as the city's grown up around it, it means that rubbish, pollution, toxins have become more of a problem. But help is at hand, because in these woods, there are fairies.
I'm meeting the Frome Fairies, a group that gets together every month to collect the harmful waste in the local river.
So this is all just in 4 weeks?
4 weeks.
That is going to cause a lot of damage to wildlife, as is something like that. You've done pretty well. Oh, gosh, this is exactly the sort of stuff we need to clear up, isn't it? So we can't leave
And it's the sort of thing that we find,
evil, evil.
yeah, all the time.
Right, let's just break that off then.
Over the years, founder Andrew G has found everything from car tyres to tennis balls, even shopping trolleys.
Andrew, 10 minutes. I'm quite shocked at how much we've managed to get out of the river, particularly as you clean it regularly. What is this? Because this is unusual and yet very damaging to the wildlife in this park.
This is a piece of polystyrene. This has been in the water and been picked up by fish. You can see all the markings around the edge here. That's going into their digestive system. That's being fed up the food chain, and this is in our bodies.
And of course there's loads of toxins in there.
So
I mean,
it's
that's
the
the problem,
toxins that are the
isn't
problem.
it?
Yeah.
What about something like this? I mean, we've seen birds pick these sort of things up all the time and try and nest with them.
It's very sad, the incident with the heron that we're quite used to seeing in the park recently, and he was trying to survive with this thing wrapped round its beak, so he can't feed, he can't drink. Took him off to the sanctuary, but within 2 days he died.
I think that's when it really brings it home to people, when they see the real effect of something like that on the wildlife.
It breaks your heart.
Everybody, when they were walking around this park, just picked up a little bit of litter, then it would really dent the problem, wouldn't it?
It certainly would. It's a start to solve the problem.
Well, the Frome Fairies really are making a difference. They're making their local park and their river a cleaner and a better place for everybody, literally, one bucket at a time.
One bucket at a time. But can one bucket really make a difference? Well, let's think about that. How much plastic do you think that you could get in an average bucket? Well, you'd get 200 grams, okay? 200 grams in one bucket. How many people are in the UK now? What's the population? It's about 66.5 million people. So multiply that by 200 grams. If we all did one bucket, how much plastic could we pick up? Look at that. That's an incredible 13,300 tons of plastic. Now, if we think worldwide, how much plastic worldwide is going into the waterways every year? That figure is an astonishing 8 million tons of plastic. So, if everybody in the world, okay, bear with me here, picked up 5.3 buckets of plastic, we could bring that 8 million tons figure down to 0. I know that sounds crazy, it's unrealistic, not everybody is going to pick up 5.3 buckets of plastic a year, but I think that point has proved that one bucket does make a difference, and we all need to do it. We all need to take responsibility for this problem. Do you know, often when I go for a walk on the beach with my dog, I do a beach clean, and this particular picture, I found that bucket on the beach and I filled it up with all that plastic. And if it becomes a habit for all of us, then, as I say, we can make a difference. Look at the Frome Fairies that I met. Now, they've been cleaning that river in that park for years, and just look at the wildlife that's come back. Look at this, otters. Imagine seeing otters in a park in the middle of a city like Bristol. Well, that's exactly what you can do in Eastville Park, because the rivers have been cleaned up by the Frome Fairies. Not just otters, kingfishers as well. And both of these creatures need a clean, healthy environment. And remember that plastic is ingested at the bottom of the food chain and it works its way up. So it affects so many different animals. Now, I will be continuing my journey through the waterways of Bristol tomorrow, meeting other people that are doing amazing things to tackle the plastic pollution problem. But for now, let's go up to Yorkshire to Gillian, who's at a reserve that proves that if you clean a place up and you let wildlife reclaim it, then it can once again return to a wildlife haven.
Yes, I am at the RSPB Reserve at St Aidan. It's in Yorkshire and it is an absolutely beautiful evening here. Looking around this scene, it is really hard to believe we're in one of the most heavily built up areas in the whole country. We're nestled around halfway between Castleford and Leeds. This reserve is 400 hectares of beautiful lakes, woodland, wetland, reedbeds. It's a welcome refuge for wildlife, especially for aquatic birds. Now, this is a busy time of year, like for most animals. They're raising their young, raising their families, and this refuge provides rich foraging ground for these birds and their families. Now, there's a species here of bird that you'll be very familiar with, and I can hear it calling. It's down there on the lake, and that is black-headed gulls. Now, these are beautiful at the moment in their summer plumage. There are 2,000 pairs nesting here. They make the most of the islands here in the lagoons. They nest in the willow cuttings that the volunteers leave out for them, and at this time of year they're starting their families. Others are well on their way. And the islands here are a real safe haven from disturbance and predators, but not all predators. They nest colonially so that there's safety in numbers, and this is what they've got their eye out for. Birds like this red kite, and when they see them, they all take to the air. Alarm calling, they'll even mob, and they'll do whatever they can until that intruder is gone. Now, this has a benefit for loads of other species. It's like an early warning system, and other birds benefit too. There's a very rare bird that is also nesting here that we tried to get a look at yesterday when we were at Fairburn Ings, and we didn't have very good luck. But we got this footage sent in from the local RSPB volunteer, Ranger Paul Weekly, and this is the black-necked grebe, and there's some beautiful shots here. You can really see that piercing red eye and the striking plumage. So there's some beautiful rare birds that nest here, and what's even more amazing is what this place looked like just 16 years ago. It was a big hole in the ground. This was an open cast mine. Operation started here in the 1940s, and 6 million tons of coal was extracted with the help of machines like this. But the site was taken over and filled in, and the RSPB has managed it, and this is what we have today, this beautiful reserve. Now, some of the keen-eyed people amongst you might have noticed that there were some big machines in those photos, and we have an example of one here behind me. This is a dragline machine. It's called Oddball, and later on the show we're going to see that this machine has provided incredible nesting sites for some of these birds, like this kestrel here. So we're going to be looking at local birds of prey over here. Now it's off to Sherborne to see Iolo, because he's going to be looking at the Sherborne birds of prey.
Gillian, it looks tropical up there in West Yorkshire, and it's actually turned out to be quite a nice evening here in Sherborne. I've wandered about 1 kilometre away from Chris and Michaela, and I'm out in search of owls, very special and very specialist birds, and we're very fortunate here on the estate to have 3 different breeding species. We have the little owl, which is Britain's smallest owl. It's not much bigger than a blackbird really, and of course we've seen these on the Nest cameras. We also have the beautiful ghostly barn owl. And this is a crepuscular bird, which means that it'll often hunt at first and last light. And also the tawny owl. The tawny owl is Britain's biggest native owl, and it's very much a woodland bird and far more nocturnal than the other two. But it's been a very peculiar year for the owl so far. Why? Well, two main reasons really. First of all, weather, and secondly, fluctuating vole numbers. Now the weather, it's been a very wet and a very cold winter. Torrential rain is really bad for our owls. They don't have waterproof feathers, so they're unable to hunt in bad weather. Also, the rain will hide the sound of their prey. Snow is just as bad. We had 3 heavy snowfalls this winter, and when you have thick layers of snow lying on the ground for several days, what it means is that the owls cannot access their prey. The mice and the voles hide beneath the snow. What does that mean here at Sherborne? Well, they're having a very, very bad year. Last year when we were here, several pairs of barn owls were nesting in nest boxes, and at this time of year they had chicks. This year, we don't know of a single pair. Tawny owls, far more difficult to monitor because they nest in natural nest sites, often in holes in some of these huge oaks you see here. But I've spoken to the rangers. They say that they have 10 pairs, they think, and they're not sure that a single one has chicks. Little owls, well, we know that they are breeding. As I say, we have a camera on a nest. What does this mean for the owls at night? Because you'd expect them to be hunting furiously if they have young. Well, I wanted to find out, so last night I went out with cameraman Mark Yates and a very special piece of equipment.
Mark and I have come out after dark to try and spot all 3 species of owl that nest here on the Sherborne estate. So far we've not seen very much. There's a badger just crossing the field, not too far away. He's got no idea we're here. Oh, there we are. The male little owl. This is the male from the barn. This is the one we've got the camera on, calling away like mad. Right, that's little owl in the bag. Let's go and look for tawny and barn owls next. Yep. Something in the field.
There it is. It's
Oh, here we are. Yeah, that's barn owl, but it's very distant. It's over a mile away. A lot of these fields are vole-rich, full of mice and voles, so it's perfect barn owl habitat. We finally come across not one tawny owl actually, but 2. There's one in the middle of the wood and there's one much further down, but we can't find it on here yet.
What's that yellow? Look in there.
Ah, yeah.
That's where the call's coming from.
Yeah, it is. Well, there we are. It's well after 3 o'clock in the morning now, and we've had all 3 owls. Brilliant views of little owl and tawny owl and a distant barn owl hunting. And although owls, yes, they've had a really difficult winter. It's been a very odd spring. It's really heartening to see that all 3 species can be found here at Sherborne, and if you are willing to put in a bit of time, come out at night, you can actually see them all within a few hours.
Well, this is very, very interesting, because had we done that exercise last year, we would have seen several barn owls, several tawny owls and little owls within an hour or 2. We were out last night for 5 hours before we got all 3 species. I mentioned earlier about the weather. Well, the other factor is a lack of voles, and what's confusing is that this is not uniform throughout the UK, but here in Sherborne it's a very poor vole year. What do I mean by that? Well, short-tailed field voles have a cyclical population, which means that every 3 to 4 years numbers peak and then they hit a trough. Then you get a peak and a trough, and we're at a trough at the moment here. And if you saw the tawny owl, if you saw the barn owl, one distant barn owl hunting, the tawny owls weren't doing anything. We watched them for ages, they didn't hunt at all. But the little owl, on the other hand, were hunting constantly. And what's happened is that there aren't many voles here, so we suspect that's the main reason why the barn owls and the tawny owls are not breeding here, but the little owl is not so dependent on the mice and voles. It can feed mainly on invertebrates, on earthworms, on beetles, on grubs and small birds. So it's been a difficult winter and a difficult spring for the owls here at Sherborne. Now let me introduce you to a friend of mine. Look at this beauty. This is Hector. He's pecking away at my trousers. He's been sitting quietly here. Hector is a hand-reared tawny owl. He's 26 days old. Now, I monitor several tawny owl nests back home in Mid Wales, and by the middle of March, they've all laid a full clutch of 2 or 3 eggs. So by now, Hector should be at least a month older than he is. And I believe that several pairs of tawny owls just will not breed this year. Barn owls probably will, because they go on later into the year. So it's a puzzling year for our owls. Now, one species of owl that you don't get here on Sherborne, but you do get, I'm pleased to say, near my home in Mid Wales. I had the opportunity last weekend to go and put a camera on this bird's nest. There's one type of owl that you hardly ever see. They're very elusive. They are strictly nocturnal, but actually they're far more widespread than people believe. This woodland in the Welsh uplands is ideal nesting territory for the long-eared owl. A few days ago, Steve, one of our nest finders, found a long-eared owl nest just 60 metres into this woodland, which is why I'm keeping my voice down a little bit. Here we go, look at this. Oh, there's the female. This looks more like an old squirrel's tray. She's just plonked her nest on top. Now, I can't tell whether she's on chicks or on eggs, but at this time of the year, she should be sitting on youngsters, on chicks now. But that is really exciting. A long-eared owl nest, the first for Springwatch, first for Britain, I think, may even be a first for the world. But isn't that fabulous? What an amazing place. And let's have a look at some more recent footage of this bird on the nest. Now, as well as having a camera by day here, have a look at this. You can see that's the female sitting on the nest. You can see one chick there. That's the oldest chick, I think. It should be about 2 weeks old by now. There she is, messing around. But we also have, oh, she's adding, look at that, she's adding a little bit of nesting material. You can see the chicks, she's lifted her wing, see the chicks, see the tufts on her head. Those aren't actually ears, they're just feathers. The ears are to the side of the eye. And we also have a nighttime camera, because if we had a daytime camera, well, that'd be pretty boring. Not much goes on by day, but at night, that's when most of the activity takes place. And now we can see that we have 3 chicks in that nest. The eggs will have hatched every other day. That's why you see a staggering from a very young chick, probably 3, 4, 5 days old, to a chick that's almost 2 weeks old. I have to say, this is really exciting, and we'll be following that nest over the next couple of weeks or so. And I do believe that even for Chris Packham, this has to be a thigh-rubbing moment.
Thigh rubbing indeed, but only the one thigh, Yolo, because I might be able to out-owl you now with a national rarity. You see, back in May in Port Soy in North Eastern Scotland, Jenny Pitota went out into her garden and heard this sound. This mechanical chiming she initially thought was something human-made, an alarm of some kind. But she sent the recording to us, and we've identified it as a Scops owl. Yes, and this is a national rarity. They come from southern Europe, they migrate back to sub-Saharan Africa for the winter, and this one has clearly overshot. Now, they're not quite an annual visitor in the UK. Between 1950 and present, we've had 40 birds. I remember one turning up in Dummer in Hampshire in the 1980s, and loads of us went to see it. So when Jenny wakes up in the morning, there are going to be about 3,500 twitchers in her back garden, trampling all over the flowers. Jenny, I suggest you charge them £10 per cup of coffee and try and get some of the money back. But I'll give you a double stroke for long-eared and Scops owl.
Pop-up coffee shop. As we are having a bit of a raptor and owl fest, it's the perfect opportunity to update you on our peregrine family that we featured on Springwatch last year. Now, you may remember they were nesting at the top of Salisbury Cathedral. It was a pair, and they had one chick that successfully hatched. They were doing really well feeding it, and that chick was doing very well indeed. And then the RSPB introduced a foster chick from a failed nest. and they put that chick in with the chick that was the biological one. Fortunately, it was readily accepted both by its now sibling and the parents, and they were both doing extremely well, and I'm pleased to tell you that they both successfully fledged in June. Great to watch them on the show last year, but what has happened to the adults since?
Well, typically with urban peregrines like this, both of the pair, the male and the female, will stay on the site throughout the course of the year, particularly if there's bountiful food. Occasionally males might go away, but the female always stays there. But sadly, during the course of the winter, the male, Sebastian as they called him, seems to have disappeared. Now, it's therefore likely that he's died or been killed, because typically they will stay together. They're very, particular about staying on that website. What about the female, though? Well, in the springtime, she did come back to the nest, and we saw her here on that nest scrape, and this was in the early part of the season. So she's going about the breeding behaviour there, she's scraping that there. The question is, where's the male? She's lost Sebastian. Would she find another male? Well, thankfully, on March the 26th, this photograph was taken of these two birds flying around the cathedral. That's our female on the left-hand side there, carrying food, suggesting that the male behind her on the right there, a new male, may have been courtship feeding her. The only problem is that this is already very late in the season for our peregrines.
Although it was still looking fairly positive, and then in April they saw this. So this is the nest site on the cathedral. A male arrives. We don't actually know whether this was the male seen with our female previously or whether this is a brand new male. Starts calling. Now, people watching the nest expected Sally, our female, to arrive. However, this is a completely different female. So now we've got a new pair that are clearly courting each other. Look at that behaviour, plenty of bobbing up and down. And every time our female, Sally, was away from the nest, these two would arrive. So, no luck for Sally there, but was there any luck for those two?
Well, you see, the thing is, in peregrine pairs, often it's not your partner that's the most important component. It's not the wife or the husband. Actually, it's the home, it's the house, it's the nest site. So there was no danger whatsoever that Sally was going to give up that site to this new pair. There was every chance that another male might turn up and she might find him. And this is what we saw happening. This took place between 8 o'clock and 9 o'clock on the 23rd of April. And this is a humdinging peregrine fight. Now, birds will fight like this, particularly over their nest sites. Normally, it's female versus female, as it is in this case. And you can see one of the birds, the one with the satellite tracking device, is our female there, the one on the left at the moment. Occasionally males will fight. You won't get females fighting males because the female being so much bigger would kill the male very quickly. But I have to say that sometimes even the females kill each other, and they have been known to then eat their adversary after they killed it. Thankfully, in this case, she managed to drive that new female off. This is Sally, and then she snuck back onto the platform, looking a little bit worse for wear, I have to say, and then she settled down for the night and stayed there throughout the course of most of the rest of the day, trying to claim that site for her own.
It looked brutal, that fight, didn't it? Feathers flying. So you've now got Sally on her own without a mate on that prime nesting spot, and you've got the other two without a nest spot, which is a stalemate and quite frankly a little bit of a disaster because neither of them will probably successfully breed this year. The problem is there aren't enough nest sites. You know, they need a sort of cliff site to nest in, and that's what the Salisbury Cathedral is like. So we need more nest boxes on tall buildings. So if you're in Salisbury, you have a tall building, put a nest box up, give them a chance.
Simple fix for that one. We, of course, have got that satellite transmitting device on that female. It's still working. It's generating lots of data for us, which allow us to see how she's using the area throughout the course of the year. All good science, teaching us a lot more about these urban peregrines.
Now, when we think of spring, we think of birds and mammals, but of course there's loads of stuff going underwater as well. And cameraman Andy Jackson has been to a loch up in Scotland to capture some of it.
Ever since I was a child, I've been drawn to the underwater world, a magical realm. hidden beneath the seas, lakes and rivers of the British Isles. My mum used to run a first aid post on a beach, so as a boy I was free to roam the kelp beds and rock pools with my snorkel and fishing net all summer long. It was the beginning of a lifelong fascination that inspired me to become an underwater cameraman. And after 35 years of diving, I'm just as captivated as I ever was. Stretching for 40 miles, Loch Fyne is the longest sea loch in Scotland and one of my favourite dive sites. In early spring, the water's a chilly 6 degrees, but it's clear and well worth the effort because there's an enchanting green world springing into life beneath the surface. This site at the southern end of the loch is called the Garden, and it's easy to see why. A carpet of strange and beautiful life covers the sea floor, and for me, this is every bit as special as any land-based version. The first thing you notice is the floral elegance of the plumose anemones. Standing proud like award-winning blooms, it's hard to believe these are animals, let alone deadly predators. A close relation of the jellyfish, their feathery tentacles carry stinging cells that stun small creatures, then push them into a central greedy mouth. Like the daffodils in your garden, these animals don't need a partner to reproduce. By lacerating the base of their muscular columns, they can clone themselves, producing identical versions at their feet. My heart fills every time I dive here. It's like a blissful dance through drifts of beautiful flowers. Just like any garden, there are many visitors to this sunken realm. And it's always a thrill when I meet a 7-armed starfish meandering across the seabed. A closer inspection reveals their prickly spines. A spiky echinoderm is my submarine hedgehog. These formidable hunters have a favourite dish. Their vulnerable relative, the brittle star. Tube-like feet gather speed, and the chase is on. I'm spellbound watching these creatures feel their way across the garden floor. Tasting what they touch, they can sense the tiniest disturbance. But if I have a favourite garden resident, it has to be the sea mouse. The strangest member of the worm family I've ever seen. The spines around its base are made of microscopic fibres that form clear crystals. Although the spines are transparent, their special hexagonal structure creates iridescence, taking white light and turning it into these beautiful rainbows on the seabed. Nature's very own fibre optic. I never get bored of this incredible light show. My childhood obsession with the underwater world is as strong as ever. There's so much to discover and learn, so many secrets the water holds. From the remote and inaccessible deep ocean to these magical shallow gardens all around our shores. It's an outdoor classroom, full of wonder. From cloning to fibre optics, the amazing results of millions of years of evolution. This underwater garden is a place I would hate to be without. I want it to thrive and grow, so the gateway stays open for generations to come.
And that's absolutely right. We really do have to protect those incredible places. And talking of incredible places, I'm here at the RSPB Reserve at St Aidan's in Yorkshire. This place is beautiful now, but 16 years ago, this was an open cast mine. But the site was taken over by Leeds City Council, managed by the RSPB, and today it is this thriving habitat, this reserve. Just behind me here is this grassland. It's a flowery meadow, and this provides really, really rich habitat for invertebrates and small mammals. And where there's small mammals, the birds of prey surely follow. And birds like this, little owls. We've seen this little owl show up here loads over the last few days, and the kestrel as well, making full use of the rich hunting ground here right behind me. So it's not just the feeding grounds, but also a nesting ground. And it's right next door in this big machine. This, ladies and gentlemen, is a dragline called Oddball. It was built in 1946. It was, at its time, weighing in at 1,150 tons, the biggest machine ever made in the world at the time. Oddball is a dragline machine. What it does is it creeps along slowly at 0.2 miles per hour, scraping away the ground and the earth, and reveals the coal seam beneath. Oddball really deserves a show of its own. Of course, it stands quiet today and it's no longer working, but it is still working for the local wildlife. So this is the little owl we saw earlier, but we have kestrels perching right on Oddball itself. This is a male we've seen a lot recently, and it's not just a useful, handy perch. The kestrels are nesting here. You can just get a glimpse of the female over there. Now, the RSPB have a live camera on the nest, and so we can see what's going on right now in the nest behind me. So she is sitting tightly on those eggs. It's really difficult to see. We know she's laid 5 eggs, but it's difficult to see. We did record over the last few days off that live camera, and we saw quite a lot of action. So this is the female, and as she started to move around, this was the first time we got a glimpse, there they are, of the chicks. These 2 chicks hatched in the last 2 days, and they've been feeding well. She's got food there, to a bank vole that she's been feeding them and doing really well. We've also seen a male. He's been trying to tend to the chicks, maybe not quite as adept as the female. But as soon as she returned, she turfed him off, presumably to go hunting. So these birds are doing incredibly well here. There's loads and loads of food, and we collected some owl pellets, kestrel pellets even. And over here, we've got what you'd expect. This is a pellet, and it's very furry. There's even a bone in there. So that would suggest that this here is a small mammal. But then we have this one here, and this one's quite curious. It's not what we were expecting, because these are feathers, and we think this is a blackbird. So these kestrels aren't just feeding on the mammals here, they're feeding on the birds, and we have proof. Look at this. This is one of the pair, we think the female, and there's a surprising bird there. That is a little ringed plover. Now, the volunteers here have seen range of birds that these kestrels have brought back. They've brought back jacksnipe, they've brought back lapwing, and they've even brought back swifts. So it's absolutely incredible that they're able to take advantage of the range of prey that's available here. And it's a real testament to how this place has recovered from what was once an industrial wasteland. So, from some of our smallest raptors to their epic cousins and the long-awaited sequel to Lord of the Wings.
Yesterday, we challenged Mara, a white-tailed sea eagle, 2 more tests remain. Challenge 2. Predatory grip, the 2 talons. Immobilizing prey is essential for a predatory bird. So using a hairy haggis freshly caught from the Shire, we'll compare each bird's grip, seeing which can do the most damage to the poor prey. First up, the golden eagle Stanley.
Okay, Stanley, come on, show your power. Come on, Stanley, come on. Come on, come on. Look at that. Here we go, Yolo.
Oh, that was impressive.
That was impressive,
to say. Yeah,
wasn't
that
it?
really was
I mean,
impressive.
that is one dead haggis now,
Yes,
isn't it?
yes. If you have a look closely, look, you can see where just by grasping it here, it's actually ripped it open.
In fact, golden eagle talons are designed for just that, puncturing the skin for a killing grip. And with an average length of 2 inches, they're formidable weapons. It's the white-tailed seagull next, so talons crossed, Mara plays ball this time.
Come on. Come on, bunny rabbit. Come on, girl. Take your time, like a big chicken. Come on. Come on, come on, pounce. Pounce. Come on.
Yolo. I hate to laugh, but what happened there?
Well, Mara's got off again. So while Mara gets a grip elsewhere,
So despite each bird's grip being perfectly adapted to their hunting strategy, Mara's lackluster performance today failed to give us a direct comparison. So it's 2-0 to Golden Boy Stanley. But the white-tailed sea eagle still has a chance to draw level, as the final test is a challenge of 2 halves.
Challenge 3, height and speed. The return of the wing. Using altimeters, the first part of the test is to record the bird's ability to gain altitude. The second uses GPS trackers, allowing us to calculate the bird's speed. First to set the pace is the golden eagle Stanley.
Is he perched or is he going to fly?
Fly, you fools.
It's 175. It's 178. He's going up. He's going up. Obviously trying to find a thermal, trying to
Yes, he is.
circle up.
And with the wind coming in like this, it's hitting the hill. It's ideal for him because he's getting a lot of lift.
Yeah, we're up to 228.
There we are. The higher he goes, the more he can see. And if he's going to find prey, you need height. 27.
down.
Yeah,
He's
he
coming
is.
down.
He's coming down.
He's not stooping, is he?
No,
But he's coming.
He's coming in, but further to not now.
What speed? What speed?
30, 41, 42.
And in he goes.
Oh, wow.
How fast was that?
45 was the fastest.
Now Mara the white-tailed sea eagle has a chance to shine by showing off her aerial ability.
Can you see her?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, there. Yeah.
She's up in the air.
Oh, she's great.
She's
She
high
looks
up,
high, but she's only
yeah.
151.
That's rubbish. That's wrong. She's higher than Stanley now.
200. 250, 252, 250.
Hey, speed
She
40.
is, she's getting higher
40
and
miles
higher.
an hour.
No way.
She was up to 40.
Rubbish,
She
8.
was. Hang on, no, she's good. You wait till she comes with the wind. You watch. Very impressive lifting. She climbed very quickly.
So Stanley got to 228 and Mara's got to over 280.
Yes, yeah,
So she has got much higher.
she has. Bigger, much broader wings, which means a lot more lift. They call them the flying barn doors.
So all we need her to do now is come over
around,
here.
yeah, is turn around and come back this way. Mara, come on. Come on, Mara. Come home to Gandalf. Come on, Mara. Come on, Mara. Come on, girl. Come on. She's on
What
the
are
way.
you
She's on the way.
doing?
Mara's on the way. Mara's on the way.
3 weeks later, what, 450 miles away?
I know. Mara didn't perform on the day, but in the wild, white-tailed sea eagles can dive at speeds of up to 100 miles an hour, which is pretty impressive for a big bird.
It is impressive, and let's be honest, Stanley wasn't very impressive on the day either. He only got to, what, 45 miles an hour. But in the wild, once they stoop, they can get to an incredible speed of 150 to 200 miles an hour. So almost double a white-tailed sea eagle and rivaling a peregrine as well.
It is, so we'll call it a draw.
Oh, rubbish.
Yeah, there we are.
Both amazing birds, but
Yes,
let's be honest, in reality, not fantasy, the golden eagle wins.
Does it win? What about the gripping power, though? That was what you were after, wasn't it? Those talons, because bear in mind, that's the killing weapon for these eagles. And the way that they work, we can actually show you using
You
one
need a
of
hat
these...
for this, Chris.
Oh, yeah,
I'll just give you the hat.
I think a
You
sudden
need the
gust
hat.
of wind has taken that away. But it's this cable tie here. We've got this fantastic device which our researchers have made here, upside down. So basically, what happens is that the talon is operated by muscles much higher up in the leg. And as it comes down here to the base of this here, sorry, the tendon rooted in the base of the leg, towards the talon, it passes through an area here which is like a sheath around it. And it's textured on the inside. It has plicae and tubercles. And as it passes through, this sheath contracts and it acts like a ratchet mechanism like that. And as the tendon is pulled through this little sheath, it locks it, and the friction inside there, as the digital flexion takes place, locks the tendon in. So this talon is quite immovable, generating an enormous force. Now, we tried to find out the force of a golden eagle and a white-tailed eagle. We couldn't, but we did find some rather dubious data about harpy eagles, allegedly the most powerful species in the world. And it said that they have the crushing power in their feet of 600 pounds per square inch, which is about the same as a bite from a lion.
Wow.
What about that?
That's pretty
So
impressive.
you've got to think that a golden eagle's not quite going to match that, but it's also going to have that extraordinary crushing power. What a fantastic device
I
this
think
is
a
as
round of
well.
applause for that. I mean, that is absolutely excellent.
Superb, isn't it? Absolutely superb. Well, sadly, we're pretty much running out of time here. I have to tell you at this point, all of the young blackbirds in the barn are still alive.
Yay.
But do keep your eyes on those live cameras. Follow our Goldcrest in particular. We'll be watching those tomorrow. I think they're possibly on the brink of fledging.
And I'll continue to mine for wildlife up in Yorkshire.
And I'll be introducing another exciting new species, this time the goshawk.
Keep your eyes on those live cameras because anything could happen, and that's on the red button and on the internet. Go there at 1:30 as well to see Springwatch Wildlife Academy aimed specially at school children. It's brilliant, so watch it. We'll see you tomorrow at 8 o'clock. Bye-bye.